Hello, I thought I'd take the opportunity to show you the introduction to the Inclusive School and Classroom, which is my newest webinar, and it's much bigger than I expected. So this is 3 hours of webinar content, and also it is an awful lot of downloads and extra information as well on handouts. So again, it's bite-sized videos for each theme and flexible on demand, gives you everything you need to create that inclusive learning environment at school. So it's a top down to bottom up and everything in between. So it's structured into 7 theme sections, and there's a video for each and accompanying handouts. So first of all, we are going to go through the whole school climate, and this is all about building a culture of inclusion across your school, policies, values and ethos, and embedding inclusive practice into everyday school life. So whether you are leadership or whether you're an LSA or whoever you are in school, it's good to know what whole school practices that you're going to be needing to embed or work towards embedding that's going to help to make your school a highly inclusive space, despite all the difficulties with resources and funding, etc. I fully appreciate those as well. But hopefully you'll get some ideas here that actually are not too expensive, and it's more about creating that ethos and environment. And then the downloads that come with that, we've got key questions for inclusive assessment, access arrangement, shared staff language, how to assess children with SEND, and all staff language to support SLCN as well as to help you with that. And moving on to half an hour of classroom practices. So strategies for inclusive teaching and differentiation, seating plans, displays, classroom routines, reference to EEF 5 a day as well. So lots and lots of practical tools to remove barriers to learning. And it's got EYFS, it's got primary, and it's got a bit of secondary in there as well. And of course, a lot of these things overlap anyway. And you'll also find that within this, there's also links to my much fuller adaptation webinar as well. So if you want more of this, there is a much deeper adaptation webinar with lots and lots of practical strategies on as well. And then there's handouts to go with this as well, all about adaptations for EYFS primary and secondary, the EEF information and more key concepts for adaptations, etc. Then we move on to LSAs. So define the role of LSAs in inclusion, how to maximise LSA impact and effective communication as well between LSAs, teachers and students as well. And this focuses on interventions outside the classroom or inside the classroom, and also day-to-day LSA practices. And that will support you and your LSAs in inclusive practices. And it's got there as well the handout of best practices for learning support assistants too. So then we've got a little bit of peer support, so helping peers with their relationships to support inclusion, promoting empathy, kindness and responsibility, and also peer mentoring and buddy systems in action. So lots of really good top tips there to actually get the children to do the work for you in some instances, but also if we teach them the skills in being inclusive and independent and supportive, then actually you end up with a far higher inclusive community than you would have done without this aspect of it. So I think this is a really key aspect in the whole process. And then we've got personalisation and nurture for those children who are in our mainstream schools, but actually are struggling a little bit and need something extra outside of what the main curriculum can give. So this is a sort of a snapshot into personalisation and nurture. And again, there is a much bigger webinar on this. So this is kind of a taster and an overview. And I expect lots of you will find this quite interesting, particularly if you're a SENCO or a leadership person. So SENCO and SLT considerations, what are you actually looking for? And I've spoken to lots and lots of people over the last year. And the message is the same, that when leadership look at lessons, then there's not really much agreement across the board on what constitutes good practice. And it's kind of done a lot of an opinion. And as we know, some leaders are more inclusive than others, but we don't seem to have any sort of shared framework to go by as to what it looks like to have a highly inclusive lesson and to be good or better just in terms of general teaching. So this has got sort of strategic leadership for inclusion information, SEND planning, training, whole school coordination, thinking about that, effective monitoring, evaluation and reviewing systems as well. So there's also some handouts for inclusive booklets and school expectations for planning, send focused learning walks for leaders, and also planning and assessment notes too. So extra bits there. And also a bonus video, which is also on my YouTube, which is all about working with parents and carers, and there's a handout to go with that as well, because we know that working with parents and carers is really key to building that community. And actually, community is also mentioned in the SLT section as well. So getting the community involved, and that's the wider community as well. So if we can get our parents and carers on side, then it makes our life a lot easier. So there we go. And then there's a little certificate at the end you can download as well, and all the slides with all the links on. So hopefully you'll find that really interesting. Of course, if you've got the subscription, it's all included in subscription, and there is now 14, 15, 16, about 18 hours worth of information and webinars in the subscription. Plus, on top of that, all the handouts. That's not even included in the hours. That's purely the webinar hours. So there's an awful lot in there, and it's growing faster than you can watch it, I think, at the moment. So I'm churning it out, and it's certainly being lapped up by lots of people. And I haven't heard from anyone that they've run out of things to watch. So that's good, isn't it? So lovely. Well, hopefully you can come and join me in watching this. So have a little look and see what you think. And as always, I'm on hand if you have any questions. Thanks for watching.